Hey friend, welcome back to the channel and welcome if you're new here. I am Crystal. I would love it if you would subscribe. On this channel, we do beauty related content like makeup hauls, get ready with me's. We do fragrances. I've started a shop my stash and I mainly do weekly vlogs. So if you like weekly vlogs and all things girly, then please subscribe to the channel. If you can tell from the title of the video, this is Vlogtober day 16. I did want to come on and share my palette drawer with you. I do have some bronzer palettes, some blush palettes, and highlighter palettes. Just random different little palettes in my collection. So if you like makeup and you want to see what I have, then stay tuned. All right, friend, this is the palette drawer. It has all type of palettes. It has blush palettes, contour palettes, highlighting palettes, just all different random face palettes in my collection. So just wanted to give you the overview of them all and then we will jump right in. Okay, we will just start in this corner. This is the One Size by Patrick Starr. This is the Cheek Clapper Blush Trio, and I have it in Rich Beige. And this is what the colors look like. I also have from One Size a bronzer trio, and it's in dark. And this is what the colors look like. I will swatch this one for you because it's not picking up the true color on camera, I don't think. Just a couple of shades from the palette. Very good bronzer selections. This next palette is from NARS and it is the High Profile Cheek palette. And this is what the colors look like. Very pretty blush colors. These next two palettes are from Juvia's Place. One is a blush palette and one is a bronzer palette. And I have it in volume 1 in dark. So this is what volume 1 in the blush palette looks like. This is volume 1 in the blush palette. This is the bronzer palette in dark. Next palette is a blush palette by Makeup Revolution. And this is what the blushes look like. This next palette is the e.l.f. Times Jen Aiken palette. This is what the shades look like. Here's another blush palette from Revolution. And this is a powder blush palette. And this is what the shades look like. Very pretty. This is the Black Radiance True Contour Palette in light medium. And this is what the shades look like. It does come with a contour, a bronzer, and a highlighter. This one has gotten lots of use in my collection. This next palette is from Rimmel. It is a trio palette. It has a bronzer, a blush, and a highlight. It's in golden bronze. I used to love this one as well. This is what the colors look like. Very pretty blush, bronzer, and highlight. Next is a lip palette from Maybelline. Trying to keep it from glaring, but this is what the colors look like. Haven't opened it yet, but those colors are gorgeous. Here's a Morphe palette, and here's what the colors look like. These next two are blush palettes from e.l.f. I did pick up both shades. I got it in dark and light. Here is what the palettes look like. This one is the dark one. This one is the light one. These next two palettes did come from ColourPop. They are cheek palettes. So I have it in Sweet Roll and Such a Rush. This is what Sweet Roll looks like. And here is the palette in Sweet Roll. This palette is a contouring blush and bronzer powder palette from e.l.f. It's broken, so I'm trying to be careful with it, but this is what the colors look like. Very pretty blush and bronzer. This next palette is a lip palette from She, and it doesn't have a color, just letter A is the name of it. Just a lip palette. Kind of look like a concealer palette, but it's a lip palette with nude lip colors. Very pretty. I love this palette. These next two palettes are from BH Cosmetics. They are blush palettes, so I have it in chocolate marshmallow truffle and vanilla orange truffle. And this is what the colors look like. Very pretty blushes. This next palette is from Believe Beauty, and it is a contour and highlight powder in medium deep. Haven't opened it yet, so I won't today. I did get it because I want to do a full face of Believe Beauty. I've heard so many great things from this brand, so that's why I picked it up, but haven't opened it yet. These next two are from Revolution. It's the Patricia Bright Face Palette, and then this one is just another face palette, dynamic face palette. So I will open it up and let you see what they look like. So this one is the Patricia Bright palette, and this is the Dynamic Duo. Look at that blush, friend. That is a beautiful, very pretty palette. This next palette is from Ulta. It is the Berry Spice Blush Trio palette. Here's what the blushes look like. So pretty, especially this orange. If you have brown skin, get this one. This orange looks beautiful on you. This next palette is the Natasha Denona Glam Face palette, and I did pick it up in dark. And this is what the palette looks like. Very pretty. Next is a palette from Jaclyn Hill, and not sure what it's called, but this is what the colors look like. This next palette is from City Color. It's a contour effects palette, and this is what the colors look like. This next palette is from LA Girl. It is the blush palette in Spice, and this is what the colors look like. The next palette is from LA Girl, Bright Beam Babe. It's a highlight bronzer palette. This is what the shades look like. Very pretty highlight and bronzer palette. This next palette is from Violet Boss. It is the Bubbly Blush palette, Bellini. And this is what the shades look like. Next is the BH Cosmetics Tulum palette. It is a bronzer and highlight palette. This is what the Tulum palette looks like. Absolutely gorgeous. I love it. This next is a blush and highlight duo from Haas Lab. This is what the blush and highlight looks like. This is a palette from Joye. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a blush palette in Cherish Me and Treasure Me. And this is what the colors look like. The next palette is from Essence. It's the Matte Bronzing Powder Palette. And this is what the colors look like. I don't feel like you're getting the true colors of the bronzer in this. This next palette is a Black Radiance Stream Contour Palette in medium dark. And this is what the colors look like. This is some random palette I got off of Amazon. It is a bronzer palette. Colors are pretty. This is the Beauty Bakery Brownie Bar Face Palette. This is what the colors look like. Very pretty. I also have the Huda Beauty 3D Face Highlighter Palette. And this is what the colors look like. These two are some bronzer palettes from a company called Princessa. So I did pick it up in both a light and a dark bronzer palette. It's quite messy, but pretty colors. And here's the other one. I also have the two blush palettes from Princessa. I got the light and dark blush palettes as well. This is one of the blushes and the dark one. This palette is from Black Radiance. It's the Bold and Sexy palette. And this is what the colors look like in that palette. Very pretty. Yep. Next I have a lip palette from Elle. The lip colors look like. LA Colors did make a contouring 3D palette. And here is the colors. I have the Saharan Blush Palette by Juvia's Place. I have it in Volume 1 and Volume 2. Here is Volume 1 and Volume 2. This is the LA Colors I Heart Makeup Contour Palette. And this is what the colors look like. This palette got lots of love as well. Revolution Roxy Contour and Highlight Palette, and this is what that palette looks like. This next palette is from BH Cosmetics. It's the 10 color blush palette, and this is what the blushes look like. Another BH Cosmetics palette. This is the foundation and concealer palette number 2. And this is what those shades look like. This next palette is from a company called Almar, I guess is the name of it. I think I picked this up at Burlington, but this is what the blushes look like. BH Cosmetics was the thing back in the day, because I have another palette from BH Cosmetics. It's the Nouveau Neutrals. It's a eyeshadow and a blush palette, and this is the colors. Oh my, that was very pretty. Look how gorgeous she is. So the top 3 rows are eyeshadows, but the bottom rows are blushes. Very pretty blushes. I like this palette. I need to pull it back out. This is a contour and blush palette by a company called Basic Beauty. This is what the colors look like, blushes and bronzers. So very pretty. This palette is quite large. It's hard to get it in frame, but there we go. This is what this palette looks like. This is a blush quad by City Color, and it's in collection number 2. I don't think you can get this anymore, but oh my goodness, friend, I used to love this palette back in the day. And this is what those blushes look like. Look how pretty they are. Very pretty blushes. So another City Color palette, but it is a highlighting palette, a highlighter palette. And let's see if we can get it open. This is what the colors look like. I did pull this out recently in my Shop My Stash, and I really liked it the couple of times I did use it. So very pretty. This is the Hyper Real Glow palette from MAC. And this is what the colors look like. I also pulled this out of my Shop My Stash and enjoyed it. Very pretty highlighters. This palette came from Hard Candy. I got it at Walmart, and I really like this palette for this highlighter, but I have used these other colors. It comes with concealers, a bronzer, and a highlighter. So this palette has gotten lots of love as well. This next palette is a palette from Sephora, and it just has some highlighters in it. So very pretty highlighters. I guess you could use it as eyeshadows, bronzers, just whatever. It's very pretty colors. This next palette I picked up on Amazon. It's from a company called iMagic. This is what it looks like. I never used it. It's probably dried out. I should try it, but yeah, this is what those colors look like. These last 3 palettes all came from Perfusion, and this is what they look like. I can get it in frame. This is what the blush palette looks like. Very pretty. The bronzer palette and the highlighter palette. Okay, friend, that is all of the palettes in my drawer. Just wanted to show all the random palettes. If you like makeup videos, give me a thumb up. I still have a few more drawers to go through in my collection, so please subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.